welcome back. So, in the previous video, we looked at observables and how to subscribe to multiple, or how to have multiple subscriptions. And we spoke about cold streams and hot streams and what the differences were, and how to resolve some of the issues that are around those things. Now, in this video, we're going to look more at observable from a class library point of view of rxJS. So what I thought I'd do in this video here is I'd actually go through a couple of methods that are on the observable class that allow you to generate streams or streams of data, so you can subscribe to it and see how it works. Some of these things could be handy in your applications, so that's why I thought I'd bring them up now. Okay, so the first one I want to do, and before I go too far, I've created a completely new project. I'll put the link in the description to my GitHub repository, and basically it's a blank app. And what I've done at the moment is I've cleaned out the entire app component screen, and obviously the class as well has been cleaned out. So I removed the default property, the title property that was in here. So when we come over here, we've got a very blank page. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to display a header for each type of method I'm going to demonstrate, and then I'm going to have a little bit of, or basically I'll have some of the data that will stream across the screen here, or it'll just update in place. You'll see more when I actually get into it what that actually means. So where I'm going to start is, firstly I need to import the observable interface, class. So let's do that. Whoops, sorry, wrong place. No, actually, before I do that, I will come here. I'm going to make all this happen on init. So lifecycle hook on init. I'm going to set all this up. So implements, and you've seen all this before on init. Spelled implements wrong. And then we'll put an ng on init here. And we're ready to go to set up our first observable example. And the first one I want to show is the method of, which is a static method on the observable class. So firstly, I need to import the observable from rxJS/observable, like so. So this gives us access to the observable class. And basically, a method I want to get access to on that observable class is something called of. So we go rxJS/add observable, because it's on the observable class. So any method that is on the observable class is going to be under rxJS/add/observable, and the one I'm calling at the moment is of. Okay, and I'll import that. So what this allows me to do now is come down here and go observable.of. Okay, so what is this of method? Well, basically what it allows you to do is it allows you to define your stream yourself by passing in many arguments into this method that will become like a collection. So what I mean by that is, if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, the value 1, 2, 3, and 4 are part of the same stream, and they will come in from the observable to the subscriber one at a time. So when somebody subscribes to this observable, they'll get the value 1 first, then the value 2, then the value 3, 4, so on and so forth. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to a variable, and I'll call it, in this case, we'll just call it of obs. Okay, it's equal to the observable of that. And the next thing I want to do is I want to display this information on the screen. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to put of property. And this is just a property that we're going to bound to. We'll call it a type string and we'll set it to blank for the moment. Okay. So the other thing we want to do is, in the HTML, I want to basically create a set of information here that shows you all the methods. So I might start with the header up here and go observable static methods, because these are all going to be static methods. I could say part 1. I guess it is part 1. And then I'm going to go P. I'm just going to put some text here going. Below is the result. Many, observable static methods in the rxJS suite. These methods will all generate some initial string. Okay. And then under here, I'm going to go H4. And the first method we're looking at is the of method. Like so. And then in a paragraph, I'm going to grab that property that we just saw. Oops, double P, double parentheses. Come over here, grab the of property, and dump it in here. Okay, so this is all straight up, component stuff. We already know how to do this. So I basically need to calculate what goes in here based on the observable now. So basically what I want to do is go 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, all in a row, with maybe a space in between it or so, just to give it an idea that it's actually, they're separate items. So to do this, and to make it easier on myself, because I'm going to be doing this a number of times, I'm going to create a method down here, and I'm going to just call it append value to property. Right, and pass in the property that we're interested in, the type string, and the current value that we want to append, and then we'll return the string, because in JavaScript we don't have anything called by reference, so we have to return back the value unless, we just have to return back the value. So I'm going to use this tilde thing, and then I'm going to go dollar value, and we'll give a space here just so we can see the space in between it. So now that we've got that, I want to subscribe to this of obs method, and when I do that, I want to populate this of property value, and we're going to append it every time for each number, right? So how do we do that? Well, it's pretty straightforward, really. All we do is go of obs.subscribe, and we've seen this before, and we know for a fact that the first method here is going to be some form of subscription. We know we're going to get a value out of it because we can see it in this. We always get a value from the subscribe that's to any kind of stream. And then what we're going to do after that is we're going to go this dot of property is equal to this dot append value to property, this dot of property, and value dot to string. Okay, because we're converting the number to a string. Now the other thing I haven't done here is that I need to really put this inside of curly braces because we're actioning something. So what this is doing is it's saying the of property that we have bound, we want to append what it currently has. So we could be maybe at the first one, so it's empty. We want to append the blank plus the number 1, and the next time it comes in, it'll do 2. So it'll be this dot of, which will have 1 space, and then we'll add 2 space, and then so on and so forth until we get to 4. Okay. So by rights, if I've done this properly, this should work. So if I go and save, and I come over to my blank screen, you can see straight away over here, the of method spat out 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now the special thing about this of method is it doesn't just work for numbers. You can do it for arrays as well. So if I can come in, or arrays, you can do it for strings, you can do it for all kinds of stuff. But just to show you for arrays, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then maybe after this one we can go, I don't know, 3, where do we go, 3, and then we'll have another array on its own with 5, and so on and so forth. And the last one we might have another array, and it might be 10, 13, 13, right? As long as it's the same type, this won't complain. Okay, it will allow us to handle it. Now I've got one little bracket at the end there. So if I come in now, what do you think is going to happen? We're calling toString on this array. What does a toString on an array do? Well, it spits out each number. So if I come over and I run this again, we can see the first array is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we get that space. Then we get the 3 on its own, then the space, then the 5 on its own, then the space, then we get the 10, 13, 13, and I guarantee you there's probably a space after this, even though the UI doesn't show it. Okay. So that's the of method. So basically, it's any number of things that you want to put in here. It creates a stream for you that you can subscribe to. So it could be an array. It could be a collection of objects. It could be anything, booleans, whatever you want. All right, as long as it's comma delimited, and this can continue to go on. So I can come in and add, whoops, like that, and this will just add to the end. See, nothing different there, and no big deal. That one's pretty straightforward. So if you ever want to create a stream and you've got, you know, a few things that you want to put into that stream, you just go observable.of and then you just put in the objects. And as long as they're the same type, it will work. And then you can subscribe as normal, just like we have in previous videos. So that's the old property. The next one I want to show you is the range property. So what the range is, well, it's pretty straightforward really. You would have seen something like this in other languages. When we come in, we go observable.range. Alright, and we'll just go 5, 10. Now it's not 5 to 10, it's 5, starting from 5, we're going to increase by 10 numbers. Now range is not included here. Why? Well, I need to import it. So I come up here. Once again, I go rxJS /add/ and it's on the observable. So observable of, not of, range, and that's fixed. And once again, we'll come down here and pretty much copy this here because we want to use the same stream mechanism. And we'll go range obs, and we'll create a property for this. So we'll go range property of string. And instead of setting ob, we'll set the range instead. And then we come over to our HTML. We'll copy this. We'll paste it. Change this to range, and change this to range. Oops. And save. And if we check it out, here you go. We got range method, and you can see it started at 5 and it did 10 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we can go, you know, back to here. We can go 15. And that will range out 15 to 24, and so on and so forth. Now this one does just accept numbers, and you don't have to print out the numbers. You could use the 15 to multiply by some number, and that spits out a different output. I'm just printing out the value at this point, but this value can be used for anything. You could subscribe to this value and go, what the current value is times 2 pi times whatever. Or you could save to the database, you know, 15 with some other values, or anything. You can do anything, okay, when you subscribe, obviously. But I'm just spinning it out to the screen so you can see what they do, or how it kind of works. Okay, next one. So range, that was pretty easy. What's the next one? The next one is a timer. And with the timer, what I'm going to do is actually include 2 things. So I come up here, and I go import rxJS /add/ observable timer. And underneath it, I'm going to go import rxJS /add/ operator /take. And I'll explain take in a minute. So now we want to come in, we'll create another property here, and we'll just call it timer property string equals this. So how you use it, this timer property, we'll go timer obs equals observable dot timer, right? And then basically in here you specify two things, all right? So the first parameter is how long before you want this to start, like how many seconds should we wait before this actually starts, this timer starts. So I'm just going to put in 3000 for 3 seconds. And then the second parameter is, once it starts, what's the delay between each tick, essentially, like each time it runs. So I'm going to put 2 seconds here. Okay. Now, if I was to do this right now and save it and set it to a string and all this, the numbers would count forever. You know, it would go 0, then 1, then 2, all the way up, infinite, right? Infinite. It'll just continue to do it. But what you can do, and you can do this with not just this one, but other types of methods too, we can use this take operation. And what this take does is say, for the amount of times we do this stream, I only want to get the first 4. You know, I want to do it the first 4 times and then exit out. That's all we're going to do, okay? So the first 4 entries, that's all we're going to process. So that's what that take method does. And that is pretty much on an observable stream. And it's more of a manipulation type method, whereas this one's more of a generator. These are all like generation methods. We're generating streams. This one's more manipulating the existing stream. Now, I was going to worry about that later on in another video, but just for the time's sake, I want to restrict it down to 4 times that it runs. So again, I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste, I'm going to change range obs to timer obs, and we're going to change range property to timer property. Okay, let's do the same. It's just easier to copy and paste and do that. Come over to the code. Once again, we'll just copy and paste this as well. And change the range to timer. Oops, not timer, not timers. And timer, like that. And if I come over to the code, you'll see nothing's there at the moment, but now it starts to count. 0, 1, 2, 3, and that's it, right? Because remember, I asked it to do 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, no biggie, right? Stopped. And that's the end of the subscription. So there's that, and you can use that to trigger things on certain intervals. The timer is an interesting one because it's very similar to interval. The only difference between timer and interval that I can see at this stage is that timer allows you to put a starting time or a starting delay, whereas interval does not. And that's the next one we're going to be looking at, is interval. So we're going to put here, and we're going to use 2 types of intervals here just to demonstrate something I just mentioned in terms of ongoing versus limited intervals. So we're going to have, in this case, we're going to have ongoing interval property of string equals blah, and then we'll go limited, and we'll probably do these 2 together. Interval property of type string, that. Alright, so for the ongoing one, I'm going to create a new method down here. Because I don't want it to go across the screen forever, I just want to show the latest number because we know it's going to continue going forever. So I'm going to call private, I'm going to go change value of property. So we're not going to append, we're going to change. So very similar to the top one here. So string, value, string, and we're going to return a string. Instead of going plus equals, we're just going to go property equals that tilde thing, $value. And that's it. Okay, no space, no nothing. So, when I come here, oh, hang on, before I do that, I need to create the observable. So we come in here, and we will call this, for both of them, interval obs and interval obs2 will do. Interval obs equals, and oops, and we'll go var interval obs2, like that, equals observable dot interval, and again I need to include this up here. So we come in, we go import rxJS slash add slash observable slash interval, and for the interval we're going to set it to 1 second, right, and that's it. And for this one we're going to go observable dot interval, also 1 second. However, just like before, we're going to take the first 5. Okay. Now for the thing here, I'm going to come in and we're going to do 2 of them. And for the second one, we're going to go, for the first one, we're going to change. And we're going to change the timer property to the ongoing interval property. Ongoing interval property. Ongoing interval property. And instead of timer obs, we're going to get interval obs. And then for this one, interval obs 2. Whoops. Interval obs 2. And we're going to grab limited interval property. And we're going to leave it as an append because we know it's only going to happen 5 times. Okay. And now we'll come over to the markup. And we know we need to do this 2 more times, like so. And what I'm going to call is, the first one I'm going to call interval method. I'm going to say continuous, because it goes on forever, so to speak. And this one we'll call interval, interval method, and we'll call that limited time only. Sounds like I'm trying to sell something, but I'm not trying to sell anything, I promise you. And now we'll come over to here, we'll just copy these over. Oops. Paste, and we'll put limited here. And I think that's everything for this. Yep, we've created the observable and we've subscribed to it, and we've got the values. Now if we come over, and I'll refresh this because we didn't get to see it. So interval method, they both start at 0. This one continues but just changes in the one place. This one gets to 5 and stops, and this one's still continuing. It's still going, and that will just continue to go up forever, until. So that could be like a polling mechanism in your application or something like that. This could almost be a retry thing. Let's try a number of times and then give up. That kind of stuff. Same timer. They're very similar in nature, what they can do, but they're all usable. They're all useful. Next one. So we've got a few more that I want to look at here before I move into the next video. So far we've looked at observables that they have their own stream and they don't really bother each other. They're not getting in each other's way. We've set property values explicitly for each one. But what if we want to have one stream run and then straight after it we want the other stream to run, right? So for example, say it is range. We want this to go from 15 to 24, and then straight after that we want to print out this list. Okay, how do we do that? Well, there's another one, or another method on observable. It's called concat. Okay, and what concat allows you to do is list 2 observables that you want. I think it's 2 or more. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it allows you to list at least 2 observables, and the first parameter in the observable will be executed first, followed by the second parameter, who will have another observable that will be executed second. So the best way to show this is to do it. So let's do it. So var concat obs equals observable.concat, and we're gonna concatenate the range obs. So the observable from the range obs up there, and we'll also put the of obs. So we're going to do both of these observables. We're going to execute them both, one after the other, okay, and put the information into one property. So we're going to come up here and I go concat property like so, and we'll set the string equals blah, and then down in subscribe, it's very similar to what we've got to the top one here, so we'll just copy that and we'll come under here and we'll paste it, paste, and we'll change concat obs like so, and we'll grab the concat property and we'll change them here, right? So we'll come over here, we'll grab this, and we will name the header concat method. That's all we'll just call it. Concat method and concat property. I believe it's what it's called. So this is going to execute the range and then the of property one after the other. If I now come and refresh and we look down here, now there is no timer on it, so you can see from the range we get 15 to 24. So 15 to 24 here, and then in the of we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 3, 5, and then 10, 13, and then 4, 6, 7. Well, you can see that's been also printed out here straight after. Okay, so that allows you to combine two observables together, but one after the other. Now, what happens if you want to run them at exactly the same time, right? You want one observable to execute and another one to execute in parallel, okay? Because maybe you need them both to run, but you don't care. They're not really going to bother each other, okay? They're doing two separate actions, but you just want them to run in parallel with each other. So how do we do that? Well, there's another property on the observable static, another static method on the observable, and it's called rxJS /add/observable. It is called merge. Okay, so you got concatenate and merge. Now, if you look at the words, it makes sense. Concatenate is in programming terms is to put two things together one after the other. Merge is to combine two things together, if you think about it. So we'll come down here, let's create a property for this, so we'll just call it merge property string, like that. And down here we'll go var merge obs equals, and so what do we want to combine together? Or what do we want to merge together? What's a good example? I would say the two intervals, because we will see these two combine each other for the first 5 or so streams of or first 5 seconds really, and then after that this one will just continue to go, right? Now that means we are going to have a very long list of numbers, but who cares, okay? So let's come in and go observable dot merge interval obs, and interval obs2, spelled that way, and then we'll just copy this and paste, and we're going to merge obs, and we'll change it to merge property, and merge property. Now we're still appending at this point, so we'll save that, and we'll come up here once more, and copy and paste this. This is low copy and pasting in this one, no big deal really. Sometimes you've got to do that to show the point. Save, and come over, and now we've got the merge method. You can see the 2 zeros were executed again, and the 2 1s, and the 2 2s, and the 2 3s. Then we hit 2 4s, and that's 5 seconds gone. And now that one that continues to go forever is starting to increase in number. And this will just continue to go right across the screen and wrap to the next line, next line, next line, next line, next line. All right, it's going to go for until we reset the application or we unsubscribe from it. Okay, and that's the other thing I haven't really shown yet is unsubscription. Now the reason for that is I'm going to show more of how the whole observable subscription model works in a future video. At the moment, I'm just showing you what kind of streams you can create using the observable static methods. So one step at a time, but we'll get there. All right, so that's the merge method. So that's cool. So the other thing you can do, and this is where it gets really funky, is what if I want to concatenate the result of one of these up here with the merge of the two values here? Can you do that? Well, of course you can, because at the end of the day, a merge, what does it return? It returns an observable. And what does a concat deal with? Observables. So I'm just going to show an example now of where you can combine them both together. Okay? So we come up here, there we go, concat merge property string, oops, equals blah. And then down here I'll go var concat merge obs observable dot concat, and what do we want to concatenate? Let's concatenate the timer. Oops. So the timer obs, which takes 3 seconds to start and then prints out basically 4 numbers every 2 seconds. So that'll get executed first. And then following that, we're going to grab the merge obs. Okay, so we're going to see that whole merging of numbers and then a long string. So it's going to look like there's 3 processes going on at once, which it's not strictly true. It's really 1 and then 2 in parallel. But this is to give you an idea of the power that you can have just by using, both merge and concat. So we've got this. So let's come down. We're going to subscribe again. And it's a lot of copy and pasting, I know that, but who cares? And we're going to come and we're going to go concat merge obs, and we're going to go concat merge property, and we are going to append this. Again, it's going to be a very, very long string, much longer than what was there. And now we just need to go to the UI, and we need to add another one of these. And we'll call this, what do we want to call it? Let's call it concat and merge methods together, huh? Makes sense. Concat and merge methods together. And what did I call the name of the property? I called it concat merge property. So we'll come in and we'll change that, and we'll save, and then we'll come over. And so now we have a delay. Then finally we get every 2 seconds we're going to get 4 numbers. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll get our parallel execution 5 times, sorry, and then you will start getting that sequence. Cool. So it's just a little bit of power there from observables. Observables is a very fantastic, or rxJS, the reactive programming engine, is very powerful, and it's great with Angular. So what else we got left here? The other one I want to quickly show is sometimes you may inside of one of your observables or one of your methods, you may detect an error, and you may want to throw an error out to the subscriber directly without actually creating a crash. It might be that somebody forgot to specify an argument, so the argument's null, and you want to throw like an argument null reference back to the subscriber, so the subscriber can do something with it. So how do we do that? Well, we did another observable method, and it's called throw, like that. So the last one we're going to deal with here, out of the actual printouts on the screen, is we're going to deal with throws. So we'll go throws obs, throws property string equals that. Oops. And down here we'll go var throws obs equals observable. Then you got this throw method, okay, and inside this throw method we just specify an error, maybe to say this is not working. Okay. Now, to basically handle this throw, so far we've only dealt with one parameter to subscribe, and that handles when we get a success, right? Now, if you saw in the previous videos, we had a success and then we had an error. Okay, so basically we have to wire up the second parameter to be a method that handles the error coming back from this. So that's pretty easy to do. We're going to pretty much copy this. We're just going to tweak it a little bit. So copy this, bring it down, and we'll copy the throws obs, and we'll grab throws property, and all this is going to be the same. The only thing we're going to do is in front of this, instead of having value, we're going to specify error, right? And replace value with error. And before that, we need to specify an empty success method, just like that. Okay. So this is success. We're not going to do anything, but on error, we are going to do something. We're going to append out what it says. Okay. Which is just going to say error in this case. So same as before. Come up here, and we'll grab this one more time. And we'll say throws method, throw method, and come up to the code here. It is throw, yeah. Just double checking to make sure it was throw. And save. If I come over, well, straight away we see this is not working. Okay, we've handled the error gracefully. We've displayed it on the screen. Okay, and that's what you would normally do, hopefully, if you are handling errors correctly. You'll do something where somebody can be alerted there's been an error, and maybe you might say, please contact, customer support, or that kind of thing. Whatever your business rules are around errors on your site, it could be to contact administration or whatever. You know what to do in that regard. So you ask the business what we do in case of an error. So they're the main static ones, where we don't have to specify what it does. Okay, these things behind the scenes, when you call range, there's some functionality in here that knows, oh, okay, we've got 15, we're going to do a for loop, and then for each for loop we'll spit out a number. Okay, we're not seeing that implementation here, we're just knowing that that's how the implementation is going to work. The same as this timer one. Underneath, we'll do a timer, or probably a set timeout, and then it'll spit out a number every 2 seconds or so. All right, and then we have a stream that takes 4. So we're not dealing with the implementations inside of each of these functions. We just know what they do and how they work. But what if we want to actually create our own customer observable on the fly here and do something different? Okay, we may have some feature that we only want to ignore, or we only want to call the subscriber when something specific happens, like, for example, and the observer class already has this, but, for example, a WebSocket, right? We're trying to connect, or we've connected to a WebSocket, and we've got a message back from that WebSocket, and we want to let the subscriber know we got a message. We can write an implementation inside to do that, okay? But for this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a really simple observer, and I'll show you how we can call back the success and the error and what we refer to as the complete methods, okay, for each observable. Now, what we'll be creating is on the fly observables. They're not classes that inherit from observable or anything like that. I'm going to leave that to another video where we can actually create ahead of time a class that uses the observable interface, and we can implement the functionality ourselves. So then all we have to do is return that particular class, and that class can handle, when to call next and all these other things. Anyway, I'm digressing a little bit here, but what my point is I want to mention here this thing called Observable.create. And this literally returns an observable, right? But what it also needs us to do is specify how we're going to call methods or the callback functions on the observer. Okay, so at the moment this is an observable. What we're passing in is a function, right? Now this function is going to pass in what's referred to as an observer, which is the same person or the same thing that calls subscribe down here. So somebody is observing what we're about to do in here. So we can take a chunk of code and we could be doing something inside of here, and then finally we're going to operate on the observer and let them know something's happened. Okay. So the first main method you call on this observer thing, if you want to send a message back to the person who subscribed, is we just go observer dot next. Okay. Our next basically means this is the next value I'm going to send you from the stream, and you're going to handle this value I'm about to give you. So for this example, I'm just going to go 1, and then after that I might call next again, and I might pass the value 2, and then I might call it one more time, pass it, and this is a very simple example. Might pass in 4, right? So in our particular observable here, we got a stream of 1, 2, and 4 so far that we've passed back to our subscriber, and then at the end we might say okay, and we're done. Okay, and this is where we have a complete function. All right. So when someone subscribes to this, they can handle the next. What they're going to get is 3 lots of calls to it with the value 1, 2, and then 4, and then at the call to the complete function for that subscriber. So the one thing I'm going to do here now is I'm going to create an observable for this, or a variable for this. Shows, we'll call it shows success flow, because this is really a successful observable. There's no errors in there. We just successfully send 3 things and then we complete. Okay, that's what we're doing here. So then further down, what I'll do, or what I can show you, and I'm gonna use the console for the rest of this video, just because the screen's getting a little bit cluttered now. So the rest of the video, I'm gonna utilize the console. So what we do next is I'm gonna subscribe to that shows success flows obs, right? So that's the same as this dot subscribe. Nothing else special here. It's the same as subscribing to anything else. However, I'm now going to come in and we're going to go the number that I just passed in up here. We're going to pass that in as a parameter here, and then we'll go like so, console.log, and we'll log out that number. So hopefully, if I've done this right, when I finish implementing the 3 methods here, we should see console.log number, right, and we should see 1, 2, and 4 in a row, and then we should see whatever we implement for the complete. So for the error, I'll just to be complete, I'll go error console.log. You should not see this as we have no errors. Now, you wouldn't do this in production, but you get my point here. And then finally, for success, for complete, we never have a parameter for complete, and we'll do another console.log. And for this one, we will say complete was also called, like so. Okay. So we don't have to do much else here because we log into the console, so we're not going to be updating the UI anyway. So there's no need to go over to the component or the markup for the component. So if I save this now and I come over and I open up the developer console, you're going to see here 1, 2, 4, and then completed was also called, because, as I said, we hit success with 3 different numbers and then we call complete. There was no error. The error was never shown here, so we didn't see the you should not see this, which is correct. And that's it if you want to go and create a quick observable in your code, right? If you haven't got, if it's just like a one-off observable and it's not something you're going to reuse in your application, this is how you can do it. Now, just to be fussy, I'm going to show an error one as well. And with error, complete will never be called. Okay, so I just want to show that also happens. So we'll go var shows error flow obs equals, I'm going to do this very quickly, observable.create function observer, because we already did this. And for this one, I'm just going to go observer.error, and we'll pass in here, this broke for some reason, like so. And just to show you that it never actually calls complete, we'll try and call complete, like so. And then down in our subscribe, so I'm just going to be a bit lazy here and do more copying and pasting. And we're not going to be dealing with anything here. So we'll just put console.log. Oops. You should never see this executing because we're not successful this time. But this time we've got an error, so let's print out the error. Like so. And just to see if complete gets called, we'll leave it like that. So if I come over now and I save, and I now look at the console, so the first one got executed, and then underneath it, it says, this broke for some reason, and then you never see anything else under it. Like this message here is just part of Angular, but we don't see the complete message, and we also don't see the success, right? We don't see the result, because we never actually gave a next call here. We just threw an error straight away. Okay, so that's another way of creating an observable that allows you to send errors back to the subscriber. And what else do we want to show just quickly at the end? There's one more which I will leave out of this video, I think, just because it's not something you're going to use all that much. I do have it in GitHub, and I'll send you a link to the state methods I used in this video, as well as a few others that I haven't mentioned yet that I will get to. I just didn't want to illustrate them all in this video because it's just too many, and I wanted to start off slow so you guys could get an understanding of at least some of the basic ones. But there will be more that I will push through. But for this video, this is where I'm going to end it. So I hope you guys understand more about how observables work in terms of the methods and stuff. There's going to be more on this, and there'll be more on the manipulation of streams after we've produced them. So at the moment, these are all basically producer methods. They produce streams. We're producing streams, except for when we call take. That's basically a manipulation or a filter-based method. We're filtering out a stream after we've produced it, and I'll get to more on that later on. But these are basically mostly producers. Even the throw here is a producer of an error. And then we produce some of our own here, just very basic stuff. And that's where I'm going to end it. In the next video, we will look more on observable methods that can be used in the rxJS library. And eventually what we're going to do is we're going to build a set of classes that allow us to do things like write our own ways of observing things without actually having to be wide in code or inside of our our components like this, right? We don't want this kind of code in our components. We basically want to be able to just fire off a class, right? So the observer will be some form of a class. And then we can just reuse it in our application, and we can do some really cool, funky stuff, okay? But we'll see more of that in videos to come. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.